As always, every wholesome story that you might have enjoyed has to be torn apart, the curtain pulled back on the ugly truth. You might have watched The Blind Side. It came out in 2009. I remember enjoying it, but it's been a while since I watched it. It's basically about this kid who's 16 years old. He goes from being homeless to becoming a star athlete at his high school because a kind family decides to take him in, help him with his schooling, help him find a stable, loving home. And he ends up being a professional football player. Yep. And it's just a happy ending, wholesome sports movie.
Well, you're not allowed to have that anymore.
And you're not allowed to have that anymore. I know this hits particularly close to home for Brett because he loves wholesome sports movies.
I do. Well, I mean, most of the sports movies I liked when I was a kid, but
so
in general.
I've
never seen this one.
The ugly truth about the story that this was based on has been revealed. It says NFL star Michael Oher, whose story inspired the Blind Side movie, says that the Tuohy family lied about adopting him and tricked him into signing conservatorship papers when he was 18 to exploit him. So he has now filed a legal petition to end this conservatorship. I actually am bearish on ending conservatorships ever since Britney went fully off the rails. But I'm sure this guy is doing just fine for himself as an NFL player.
He's got a net worth of 16.
At 37 years old.
According to Google, he's got a net worth of 16 million. Who
knows whether
accurate,
we should trust Google net worths? Yeah. But I'm sure he's doing just fine for himself. Yep. He says that this movie misrepresented the whole situation, that the family didn't take him in as one of their own, that they started this conservatorship to exploit him and make money off of him. That it portrays him as stupid and unintelligent, when in fact that is not the case. And basically that they're lying about the money that they received after this movie came out. It made like $330 million at the box office. And he's claiming that they got a really good deal from the studio where each of the members of the family would get $225,000 as well as 2.5% in residuals.
That sounds high as
which is high.
F.
It's high, especially because
Holy
this movie is based on a book that they didn't write. Yep. So now the dad has come out and spoken about this. He said he was devastated by the news of this legal petition that is being filed. He said it's upsetting to think that we would make money off of our children, but we're going to love Michael at 37 just like we loved him at 16. He also claimed that his family didn't make any money off of the movie, but instead the author of the book that it's based on gave them half of his share of the money for the script being inspired by it. And that turned out to be divided between the family members 5 ways. So like each of them got $14,000, including Michael. And it's just a he said, she said at this point.
Yep.
He's claiming that he got none of the money and that the family got all of it. The family is claiming that we all got an equal share that was relatively small.
Yeah.
And either way, he's a professional athlete in the NFL. I think he shouldn't be hurting for money right now. I think this is more so, honestly, just him being ungrateful, resentful. I think that now all of the wholesome stories that you find out about in the news have to be crumpled up and thrown in your face.
If they actually did this, if they actually did negotiate for themselves and he got nothing, that is messed up.
Well, sure, yeah. We don't know the truth. And then also, the adoptive father claims that the conservatorship was something that was insisted upon by the NCAA.
That to me is the biggest
for Michael to get into University of Mississippi.
That is the biggest red flag here. Like why? He's an adult. He doesn't need a family to go to college.
He said that the legal arrangement was apparently put in place to satisfy the NCAA, so that Michael could play for Ole Miss.
He was already on scholarship. Now, is the idea here that because apparently the dad went to Ole Miss and played? So is the idea here that he's going to get in because his now adoptive conservator
it would technically
father?
Be a legacy admission.
I still don't buy it. If the dude is good enough that he's on scholarship, it doesn't matter if he has a family.
The problem is, how would Michael think that he was getting adopted when at the time he was 18?
Yeah.
You can't adopt anyone who's over legal adult age.
And they're saying that they presented him the documents as if they were adoption papers, but they were conservatorship
I mean, I feel like I
papers.
should say, like, you should have known better if you thought that that was adoption. They were probably just calling it adoption because it sounds better than a conservatorship. And that's what they wanted it to be. Like, you're part of our family now.
They saw Britney Spears in their eyes and were like, let's take your money that you don't have yet.
And why now does he decide to do this?
Yeah.
Instead of, I don't know, when Britney's story was popping off. People just hear the word conservatorship now and they immediately think, you know, about Britney Spears' evil dad.
Yeah.
And Jamie Lynn Spears. And not every story about a conservatorship is the same story. But I would love to know, like, how did they get money? Did they actually get money?
That's
from
the hardest
movie?
thing to figure out.
There is
here,
a
right?
truth
like,
here. We just don't know it.
And it's gonna. And I don't know if these things will ever come. The numbers seem high. Like the 2.5% residual seems really, really high to me. Especially when you're talking about.
They weren't in the movie. They didn't write the book that the movie is based on.
Yeah.
That's just weird to me.
And what it's doing, it's funny because, like you said, you're right. Like, if we're to take the story as true, it's awful, right? And it's extremely exploitative of the parents. But on a larger scale, it does kind of feed into that narrative now that all good feel-good stories in America have to be torn down and gotten to the middle of.
Especially if it has anything to do with a happily married couple, a happy family that is white, and any positive relationships whatsoever between people of different races. It has to be.
Think about Colin Kaepernick writing the book about.
exposed.
Think about Colin
Yeah.
Kaepernick writing about his adoptive family. How
His
they
mom
must have
saying
felt.
something
Yeah.
like backhanded about his hair.
Yeah.
Like, it's always something. And
So in the chat,
they wouldn't make this movie
Celine
today.
is saying they sold his likeness and life story. So did they sell that to the writer of the book? Is that what they're saying here? That they sold it to the writer of the book?
But that would have been after Michael was already 18.
So
That happened.
So but he's but he's under conservatorship, so they can do that.
I don't know.
So if they did,
Unclear.
they're absolutely scumbags. But I have no idea if that's true. All I know is that it ends up ruining the feel good stories that so many of these movies are based on. Right? That like at the end of the day, what Marxists want to do is take everything that's made you feel good about your country, everything that makes you feel good about your community, and tear it down and expose it as fraudulent, even if it's not. Because they want they want you demoralized and they want to ruin your faith in your fellow man.
That movie, it was like based on a true story about like a dog. Was it just called Dog?
We watched a movie. We went to a movie called Dog last year.
Was it based on a true story?
Yes.
Like next we're gonna find out that
the
like
dog.
I don't know, like we're gonna find out that the dog was racist, and we're gonna find out that like in Marley and Me they were actually animal abusers.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the
I'm
dog
gonna
said the
find out-
N-word one time.
I'm going to find out that President Whitmore on Independence Day was actually a racist who supported the aliens. And
Yeah.
that whole speech that he gave that changed my life was actually a fraud. Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to be.
Someone uncover the problematic tweets. And like they just wouldn't make a movie like this today. It wouldn't happen.
Well, they wouldn't
It
make
would be way
white
too
savior.
weighed down with all of the conversation about white saviorism and systemic racism and blah blah blah. Like no one is able to enjoy anything anymore. And now people who are mad about this situation on Twitter are calling for Sandra Bullock to
Which
lose
makes
her
no
Oscar
sense.
for playing this mother in the movie. Which makes, literally no sense.
So this person
whatsoever.
says, so Sandra Bullock should have to give back her Oscar, right? And man, do we need to start checking these good feeling stories. The parents blocked $300 in earnings, the movie from him getting any of it, and gave the money to their real children. Wow. Do we have proof of that? Do we have proof of that? I'm not saying it's not true. It could absolutely be true. This person says they need to take away Sandra Bullock's Oscar like they took Reggie Bush's Heisman from him. I demand we revoke Sandra Bullock's Oscar and give it to Meryl Streep. Well, no. I say no to that.
Oh,
one.
hell no.
There's no reason to take their Oscar away.
Yeah, that's stupid.
That doesn't make any sense at all. I guess then what you do, sadly, you just make it a fiction. You get rid of the...
Let's not start checking good feeling stories. Let's not
leave them
fact check
alone.
anything so that I can live blissfully unaware of the truth. How about that?
Yep.
Because I would feel a lot better in that situation.
It's I feel for if all of this happened, I feel for the big guy for this happening to him.
Weirdly enough, the guy that played him in the movie, it's his birthday today.
Oh.
And he's probably looking at Twitter, looking for his happy birthday messages, and he just sees, guess what?
Part of a fraudulent empire of movies that
you
are supposed to...
exploited someone.
It's bad. It's bad. Oh, also, so the dad says, like, his dad's explanation is basically like, look, I was already successful. I had a chain of fast food restaurants. I sold my business for X amount of dollars. I didn't need the money. That's not a defense necessarily. Like, plenty of people who have lots of money are greedy enough to want more money. So that's not really that's not a defense. But, you know, to his point, outside of showing legal documents, there's no way for him to prove that this didn't happen, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he's going to have to come out and say... In fact, there's not really a way to prove it, right? Because he can't prove that he didn't get payments. He could prove that he did, but he can't prove that he didn't. They'll just say you're hiding him.
Right.
Like, is he going to release his bank statements? I guess
it'll come out as the legal situation continues. Mm-hmm. But there's no weight to the accusations against the movie, like it misrepresented events. If it's based on a true story, you should just take everything in the movie with a grain of salt that is not even close to the real story.
And at the end of the day...
Also, it didn't portray him as unintelligent. It portrayed him as having a poor education. Like, that's not the same thing.
Well, when they make the movie about me, they're very welcome to portray me as the dunce that I am. That's completely fine.
He's going on the record.
When they make the Brett Dasovic straight made for TV, straight to VHS movie that only comes out at 3 a.m, I encourage them to.
You're going to be played by blonde Ryan Gosling.
Yes, let's go. And they can portray me as dumb as I actually am. I won't complain later. Yeah. I won't. So, you know.
Let's go to Super Chats.
Well, no, here's the thing. Like, do you think that this will end up it shouldn't affect these movies anyways, because at the end of the day, Hollywood takes extreme liberties with all its based on true stories.
Right.
All of them.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe he feels like he didn't get a proper say in whether this movie got made.
That
would bother me too.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.